So our next speaker will be Ivo. Oh, I promised I wouldn't mess up your name. Georgiev? Okay, so he's going to be talking about Marsian School. And as he finishes up right here, we'll put on a microphone, and it's all his. Oh, one more time. I need to remind everybody about our announcement. So you have another moment. So we have another session. I haven't got word on whether or not the 4:30 was canceled in the room next door. But at either 4:30 or 5 o'clock, depending, Charles Leatherwood will be presenting on a proposal for Interactive Mars Museum called The Next Giant Leap. So that's just FYI. So that could be at 4:30, could be 5 o'clock. All right. There you go, sir. It'll be in the room next door, right here. Okay.
Can you hear me? No. No? Oh, that doesn't really... Hello? I don't think I hear the pardon me for a second. Hello? That doesn't really work, does it? It works? Okay. Better? Okay, it doesn't matter. I guess for the recording. Okay. Hi, my name is Ivo Georgiev, and I'm going to present Marsian School. We saw Marsian University. Now let's see what comes before. So what's the motivation? This is actually a private startup I started 6 months ago. And this was the inspiration. This is a NASA poster from a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, NASA's educational office is being threatened by the current regime. So I took this up both as a professional interest and sort of a social service. Talking about service, if you have heard of software as a service, this is how you use applications that you don't have to install. You use them in your browser. They run somewhere on in the cloud, so to speak, on someone else's computer, data center, and so on and so forth. It is a very widespread way to offer computing services of all kinds, and also a very good business model. What am I building? A personalized cognitive conversational tutor. You've all heard of chatbots, right? They're either textual, so you basically text with them, or they're verbal, and you converse with them. So that's the conversational tutor. Cognitive means that it is interacting with you based on a model of your cognitive processes. This is actually not a new idea. There have been several large-scale cognitive models of students that have been developed over the past maybe 20 years. And personal. Personal as in each one of you interacts with the tutor in a different way, and that tutor changes its interaction based on the information that you give. Here's an example. This example was given by a colleague who is working in a very interesting new endeavor called the Learning Assistant Program, started at the University of Colorado Boulder, where senior students are embedded in the class, not as TAs, but as learning assistants. They don't have grading power over the students, but they assist in the process. And that's usually a flipped classroom, so students have done their work ahead of time, and now they're working in a workshop setting with those senior students and the instructor to perfect and apply those theoretical skills that they learned about. So this is just a scenario. It was very interesting. The principle of variability is critical to the theory of evolution, but why? And here's a small dialogue with a tutor where that can be made really plain and simple for just about anyone. And the key here is that you don't tell. The tutor doesn't tell you. The tutor makes you think through it yourself. So next time you need that knowledge, you actually know how to get it. And this is the best way to really learn. One-on-one tutoring has widely been recognized as the best way to learn. And for all kinds of reasons that we usually associate with human-level cognition. Like, I can understand my student, and I know, of course, I'm an expert in the material, so I know exactly where they are, what they're stuck on, and so on and so forth. So I can offer the best intervention at the best time, and I can give the right hint for them to progress to the next step. The key to all these interventions is that when the brain, the mind of the student is primed with the right background information, the facts to which to attach the new fact that you're teaching right now, that can happen. It's very time sensitive. So you have to do it just in the right moment. Before that or after that is not as effective. Now imagine you have 30 students in your class and you don't know exactly where they are. That's the problem of traditional education, that we have, at least on the class level, one size fits all. I'm talking to everybody, and if it's not interactive in any way, I risk losing most of my students because they're not here, they're somewhere else. Now, 30 students is nothing. In my class, I can tell by the second week or third week how I can intervene with each one personally and help them. I cannot do that. I cannot scale myself to 30 people, but we cannot scale one-to-one tutoring globally because we have 1.4 billion learners. These are basically students, so people in a student in a student age. So, AI. AI is experiencing its third revolution right now, and because of the huge amounts of data that we have started to collect for just about everything, human activity, non-human activity, physical activities, data moving around, we have enormous data sets. We also have very cheap computational power. These two things are driving the third revolution of artificial intelligence, and it's being applied to just about anything you can imagine. What would AI tutoring do? Basically the same things that a human can do. Well, I'm not saying that that has been a solved problem, but I believe that the technological convergence is going to bring it about. I'll be surprised if it's more than 5 years. So what is happening right now is an acceleration, technological acceleration based on AI, applying AI technology that is comparable to the Industrial Revolution. So the benefits there are that it's always available. if this is a tutor that you can use on any of your devices, you have a tutor at all times. That tutor, learning about your learning habits, can actually interact with you just like you interact with a study buddy, and can maximize your effectiveness in spending your time learning. It's ubiquitously available all the time, and the more you interact, the more the tutor learns about you and can offer you the best personalized path through the curriculum. After 30 years of degradation in STEM education, America is interested in STEM again, and you can hear all kinds of initiatives. So the state of EdTech is in nothing short of a revolution right now. This is a very, very, very small sampling of what is out there and is being developed. Most of what is being developed is new forms of content and presentation. But that doesn't necessarily address the fundamental problem of education. Education is not equal to learning necessarily. Education is equal to learning as much as religion is equal to faith, basically. It's that personal achievement and mastery that is not guaranteed usually in an educational setting, whether you pay for it or not. So we have all this content, and the content is growing immensely. Every 2 minutes, there's a new biomedical paper that is being indexed at PubMed. Every 2 minutes. Who can keep up with that much information? And then we have a lot of people who are basically scientifically illiterate. What is the problem here? We have so much information and we have so little knowledge. There has to be something that bridges. I think scaled personal tutoring scaled through AI is a possible remedy, partial remedy of this problem. Learning is a service. So without being dependent on a particular presentation platform, we're talking about a very intuitive interface. I talk to you. I don't have to, I've learned to talk already, so I can talk to a tutor. In fact, students that are participating in experiments with educational chatbots are a lot more engaged than in any class or any other setting. So with content independence, platform independence, and through the scalability and ubiquity of mobile digital devices, this can be a bridge and provide that learning on top of any content that you care to absorb or you need to for your class. So at a glance, Marsian School wants to deliver personalized paths to the curriculum. Individually tuned interventions. There are tens of different learning mechanisms that have already been proven and that work in a scientific setting. 5 minutes, okay. And not all work for everybody at all times. Learning about what works for you relative to the content is something that we don't really have scalable. In your class, over the 3 months, maybe your instructor learns about you, but then what happens to that knowledge? You move to another class and that's gone. What if your tutor can learn that about you and keep helping you throughout your educational career? Under the hood, these are basically online this side is the human-facing interface, basically chat services and the Jupyter notebooks. If you've ever seen that, this is basically a platform for dynamic research. You basically write a web page and you do experiments and programming at the same time. It's very convenient. This is a way to preserve the full anonymity and FERPA compliance of student data, because I'm learning about you as a student. That information actually doesn't currently exist in digital form. People know about you, but that is not published. Now, with this service, we actually have to, from day one, be very sensitive about what information can actually leak. None should. And then TensorFlow is the leading artificial intelligence neural network platform developed by Google. Why is this possible? As I said, I already mentioned artificial intelligence, but the learning sciences in the past 10 years have made amazing gains in understanding of the exact mechanisms of effective learning. And let's not forget cognitive neuroscience. These are the sciences that tell us exactly, or at least model what exactly is behind those effective learning mechanisms in neural tissue. So we can use that both to inform our learning sciences behaviorally, but also to inform our artificial intelligence architectures. I'll skip over this. These are the products that I'm currently working on. The top one is the class that I'm teaching right now. I teach computer science, so I have a constant reminder of how many things I assume about my students that I shouldn't. Let me just go back. Imagine that all these books that are the content that you need to absorb can be digested into a form that reduces this knowledge into a network of units. So each one of these units is learned through a particular activity or learning mechanism. And there's a personalized path through the curriculum for you to get from here to here for every student. Based on that, we can have curricular sequences. Just one? Yeah, I'm almost done. Curricular sequences that are both getting all students in a class to the goal, but they can start at the current level of the student. This is the biggest problem in my class. Some people, I can never assume that everybody's at the starting line. Some people are behind, some people are ahead, and I can't keep, I have to stretch myself immensely and spend a lot of time in logistics, basically keeping people at different levels going at their characteristic pace. This is Marsian School because eventually I want to develop curriculum for planetary sciences and ecosystem engineering. Currently, those degrees don't really exist necessarily. There are a lot of people here that spoke about amazing cutting-edge science that is not really learnable by anybody. I would love to be able to tell and teach, actually, portions of the material here to anybody who is interested. But as you said, this happens only once a year and over 3 days, and very few people actually know about it. Thank you.
So
questions. Yes. Hi.
Directed human evolution. Could you expand on that? What do you mean by that exactly?
This is a slightly radical idea, but it's not mine. We've been, I'm not the only one who is here. If you've listened to particular talks, there have been suggestions that we might be able to, through genetic engineering, make ourselves better suited to life on Mars, for example. So learning enough about our genetic and biological makeup, and we might at some point start modifying ourselves through genetic engineering and selective breeding and so on and so forth for alternate environments off Earth, basically. Yeah?
Have you, in your courses, when you're saying different students at different levels, have you found the current grading system, A, B, C, D, is that sufficient?
I'm forced to use it.
Are you?
I actually attempted to declare to my students that I only write A's and B's and F's. If you're getting a C or a D, we both failed to bring your natural talent forth, and I don't believe that you don't have it. But I was not allowed to do that.
Fair enough, thank you.
Yeah. Hi.
What was the group at CU Boulder called?
Learning Assistance Program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Part of a similar program at CU Boulder called the Engineering Fellows.
Okay.
Can we do similar things?
There might be, yeah, they might be related. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's this program has shown amazing results. On average, 30% better student success, 30% in every class that they've tried. On average, obviously. Yeah.
So you're at this point primarily what you put out there is a chatbot level of asking questions.
Right. Yeah. If you're familiar with Slack, basically, yes.
And then, so what type of feedback are you getting from them to know which type of questions to ask next?
It's sometimes difficult because students, not necessarily, especially younger students, are not very good communicators.
Right.
So the ambiguity, the level of ambiguity is enormous. It's human language is ambiguous itself as a baseline, but this is even worse because they are sometimes their sentences are unrelated. I, with my educational teaching experience, sometimes can actually tell what they're trying to get at. So it will take years and a lot of data to actually be able to train an artificial entity to tease apart those different situations. It relies on a deep model of the student and long enough interaction with each one particular. But with, if this becomes fun to use, we'll get the data. Yeah.
On the chatbots, do you see avatars being helpful for students to connect with somebody, or is it better for them to just have text-based?
Well, that avatars add another level of complexity of the interaction, and if that's not spot on, it's a distractor. And they're not that good yet, even in Star Wars.
Thank you.
Yeah, that Princess Leia wasn't convincing. Yeah. Anyone? Thanks. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming.